Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in the Bay Area, it's time for Bay Area Business Radio. Now, here's your host.
Lee Cantor here, another episode of Bay Area Business Radio, and this episode is brought to you by Leah Davis Coaching, inspiring women of color to claim their wealth legacy. Today on Bay Area Business Radio, we have Anastasia Blackman. She is a personal branding and storytelling expert. Isn't that right, Anastasia? Tell us all about it.
Hi, Lee. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be on the show and tell you a little more about personal branding and what I do.
I am so excited. Personal branding is one of those things that even if you're not doing it on purpose, you're still doing it. So you might as well do it right?
Absolutely. You know, the biggest thing that got misconcepted in the mind of professionals is that you either do have a personal brand or you don't, and you have a choice whether to develop it or not. The truth is that everybody does have a brand, and it's just a matter of whether it's going to serve you good and give you an average over your competition or the opposite, right?
So now, how'd you get into this line of work?
Great question. So I was always driven by the storytelling, as my dear mother brought me to the theater when I was 5. And growing up in that environment really showed me how much you can relate on the emotional level and on a deeper level through the meaningful story.
And then so you got involved in theater at a young age, and that kind of left a mark, huh?
Absolutely. Moreover, it inspired me to become a film director and develop the stories for individuals through documentaries and, sharing their stories through visual storytelling, if you will.
Now, in today's world with with so much social media, Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube, there's so many opportunities to share a story visually. What are some of the kind of opportunities you see for professionals that maybe they're not leveraging enough?
Great question. So as you mentioned, in nowadays, you don't really need to have a documentary to deliver your story or to share with the world who you are. And everybody's Google people before meeting them or after meeting them, right? So when you go online, whatever comes up standing along next to your name, this is your visual story. And how you can develop it, it's ask yourself what makes you different, who you are, and what you can do, what you stand for, what makes you unique and set apart from the competition. Because today there's so many great experts, so many wonderful entrepreneurs, and over 1 million people do what you do. And you can either be, that one person in a crowd of the million, or you can be one of that million. And that's the difference.
So how do you recommend somebody that, maybe they think they're in a boring business? Oh, I'm an executive or I'm an accountant. I just, crunch numbers all day. How should they go about kind of figuring out a way to get the most out of their personal brand so they do separate themselves? So maybe they are the one whose firm gets chosen for the opportunity or they get the promotion.
Right. So personal brand is basically the perception of who you are in the mind of others. And if it's not based on the image, it's based on values and unique assets that you have. So if you are that accountant, maybe you're the accountant who delivers the most, the most clean and fast spreadsheet, right? Or you are the person who always show up in time, or the person who delivers all the reports a day before. So your employer knows that they can rely on you and what to expect from your work.
So say I am that person. I am the most reliable person you ever met. I always deliver. I'm always early. I'm that guy. So how would you help me build my personal brand around that? What are some things that I could be doing visually to kind of let people know that that's the kind of person I am?
That's a wonderful question. So, to brand yourself, you have to combine those unique traits and values. And with the help of an expert, you can create that collection of perceptions that will be designed thoughtfully to influence others or your employer or your customers to see it in you, right? And there are so many ways how you can show it, and I recommend the visual story because human brain decode visual information about 60,000 times faster as any written text. So with the colors and shapes and the fonts that you will select to present yourself, you can influence and show those values without saying them directly, without saying, I'm the most accountable person, right?
So you would be like maybe photographing me in certain situations that's just inferred, so that you're giving some clues and cues to the person that's seeing the visuals, that they're just assuming
Absolutely.
I am this person because of the environment I'm in.
Absolutely. So it is an environment. It is your personal style, the clothes that you wear, your grooming, the way you show up, your body language. It's the colors that stand alone in the image or on your web page.
So now, how do you, when you're working with somebody, I'm assuming a lot of the folks that you're working with aren't that skilled at this or knowledgeable about this, and they don't have obviously the knowledge you have. So how do you kind of ease them into this? Because it sounds like it could be kind of scary for some folks.
At the end of the day is a conversation and a set of questions that helps me to understand, and also helps every single person who I'm talking to understand what makes them them, what makes you, but not anyone else, right? And through simple questions and well, okay, some of them are quite existential, but if you can define who you are and what you stand for, there are so many ways how to show it to the world. But as long as you are clear about that.
So now, do you see folks making the same mistake over and over again, where you're like, oh, here we go again. I've seen this, they're not standing out. They just look like everybody else.
Right. And, I think this is the main mistake when you think that you don't have a personal brand and whatever is developing over time is just serving you enough for now. But if you want to be recognized as an expert in your field, if you want to stand out of the crowd and be seen as that professional to know, it can make it or break it for you, honestly.
So what are some do's and don'ts in your mind for most people?
I would say if you want to be recognized as an expert, don't create a blurry image of yourself and just Google your name and see what's out there, what other people can find, and clear out everything that you will not be proud to see on the cover of the, I don't know, Wall Street Journal or something like that.
So now, what about, like you were talking, a lot of your background is in photography, right? So you have the eye of a photographer?
That is correct. So it's more of a film direction and photography, as every image have a story behind it. And I usually, those who knows me, they know that usually I believe that the last thing you need to develop a unique personal or powerful personal brand is to get a headshot. Because if you want to be seen as unique and different, you don't want to be blend with the ocean of other headshots out there, right? You don't want to be just another professional. And instead of thinking how to save money and go to the cheapest studio around you, think what do you want people to see or think of when they look at your image. And as now we can do the networking only through internet is easier to just have defined image and don't confuse people, or have an updated image so people don't second guess why you're still using 10-year-old photo instead of showing up as you are.
Now, you also help folks kind of determine what is the brand color. How do you go about doing something like that? And is that really a critical element to this whole personal branding?
It is. Believe it or not, it is. Color have a very strong emotional response in human bodies on a subconscious level. So every time you see a certain color, it makes you feel emotions. And this is probably the easiest way to just be mindful about what color clothes you wear for that photo shoot, or what color or of the background is behind you, what what you want to say in Google. God bless Google. You can put what color yellow means, and you will find that it's a cheerful and wonderful color, but when it stands next to black, it can be recognized as a caution combination, right? And we're not really looking at this and trying to figure out, what makes me feel alert when I saw that image? It will happen instantly. So as long as you understand why it's there, you have an advantage.
Now, what do you have kind of a niche that you serve, or is there a certain group of business folks that you work with more than others?
So I work with entrepreneurs and industry leaders because they usually combine those unique values and talents that creates a proposition that nobody else can deliver.
So you work with a lot of, I would imagine, speakers and authors, that folks that have either written a book or do speaking?
Most of them, but the folks who are high on their expertise to the extent that they're able to write the book, those already have more defined brand than usually. And what we do is we are focusing on creating that long-lasting strategy to keep that brand consistent and widely recognized, right? So I love working with those professionals because they usually are very clear about their purpose, and I just have more room to play in terms of how to establish their brand in the mind of others through more sophisticated or outstanding visual story on a longer term.
So I would think that some folks might think that, oh, personal branding, that's for like the creative folks, but the people that are doing the day-to-day work don't need it as much. But I would argue that they need it even more, because if they use this and leverage this, then they can really stand out, and it could really
Absolutely.
catapult them to the next level.
Absolutely. And it's funny you have to say the creatives, because sometimes people say, "Oh, I'm so far on my way to the perfect career. Why would I need the brand now? So let me work first, and then I'll get back to you on my personal branding." But whether you college graduate or you a founder of the Fortune 500, you do have a brand, and it's the matter, will you get a job, or someone who who really thoughtfully put themselves together out there for that employee or a customer to recognize that you are there. So you either will be remarkable or you'll be invisible.
Now, I would imagine that through this pandemic, people are more aware of the importance of kind of visually showing up, and that this would be good for your business. Has this kind of worked out? Has COVID helped people kind of get their act together when it comes to their personal branding? Because they're on camera now all the time.
They are on camera, and moreover, all those networking that I mentioned in the beginning are very crucial, because when people see you on camera and then they go to your social profile and they see that there is no consistency or no integrity between those two, they might not trust you, just because you are not thinking about how others can, what feelings that they can get if your social profile and you are in person are kind of different people.
Now, if you weren't busy enough doing your personal branding, you also have this kind of art project, Teleportation, going on. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So actually, that would happen in the beginning of the pandemic, when we sort of had a couple of weeks, if not months, to figure out how to adapt to the circumstances and stay safe, in order to protect, others and don't spread the virus. So all my shoots got rescheduled for almost like a next year, and it was my creative challenge to see how technology and creative approach can play together and create something unique. So I would Zoom with creative people or creative friends of mine all over the world, and we'll connect that Zoom call through video projection, in order to see their appearance in my apartment and photograph those images. It was quite fun and inspiring, because at that moment I realized that it doesn't really matter where you are. If you have desire to create and you have a story to share, you'll find the way to do it.
That's right. And everybody, I think, is an artist in some level.
Of course. I mean, otherwise, I don't think we're able to be living human beings. Otherwise, we'll be just robots.
Now, for you, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, what is the website?
You can visit anastasiablackman.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn. I do my best to be as responsive as I only can, and I'm looking forward to talking and figuring out how to develop your strong personal brand. And
then if somebody wants to check out that art project, does that have a website?
Absolutely. Thank you for asking. That one is the phototeleportation.com. But you also can find it on my website in the contact page.
All right. Well, thank you, Anastasia, for sharing your story today. You're doing important work, and we appreciate you.
Thank you, Lee. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
All right. This is Lee Cantor. We will see you all next time on Bay Area Business Radio.